Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're going to go over another key concept of Claude and the Claude Agents SDK, and that is streaming. So streaming is when there is an open connection between you and Claude and it is persistent. You can interrupt it, you can ask multiple questions at once, versus a single message where you just send one message to Claude and it comes back with all of the responses. Streaming just provides a lot better experience in terms of different applications that require a persistent chat. So right now I'm going to open up here. I'm going to type Claude Agents SDK, and you can follow along here if you want. I'm going to go to the guides and I'm going to go to streaming input. And this is one of the key guides for the Agent SDK. And so this streaming input here, you show there's two distinct input modes for interacting with agents. There's streaming mode and then there's single message input mode. And then streaming here is when all of this is happening between you, the agent, the tools the agent is using back to you, all in one persistent session. Whereas if I were to have an application where it's a single message, I would just send it a message and wait for it to come back with its response. I did ask Claude to create a simple HTML presentation for me here. So this would be streaming. You've probably used Claude Code before if you come to this video, but if not, totally fine. If you've seen Claude Code showing its work in the past, that's streaming. Single message is when you send one message and you wait for the other message. What does streaming unlock? It unlocks you to send multiple images. It unlocks the ability to queue multiple messages to the model at once. You can interrupt it midway. You can have hooks in between the conversation with the agent. You can see real-time feedback and you can see more context. So this is how streaming works. The connection stays alive with the agent throughout the whole conversation. This is very important. Another key concept in streaming is called yielding, where one message you send yields at a time rather than you having to send all your messages in bulk before the agent starts doing its work. This is really key in conversations. You probably have had a conversation with someone where maybe they start responding, but you forgot to give some more key information, and so you can just give that as well. This is an example of yielding in action. If you've used a coding agent before and it shows all the work it's doing at a time, that's an example. This is single message, where you just send, you receive a message, and that's it. So which should you use? Streaming is very good for chatbots, coding tools, things where you're iterating and going back and forth with. Whereas single message is one shot. This is if you need it to do one task for you and there's not going to be any iteration, it's just there and back, then single message is fine. And it's still available in the SDK. So now we're going to open up Cursor. We're going to open up a new project. I'm going to call it Stream. Because I have streaming, I have Claude streaming, etc. We're going to open up a folder of your choice. And then we're going to open up the terminal. And if we go back to the overview, we need to install the Claude Agent SDK for this project. So I'm just going to install it here. And so you can see it's just given us these three things that are important to look through. For now, we're going to type Claude. And I recommend that we create a new markdown file. So we're going to go new, and we're going to just call it streaming.md. And this is important because what we're going to do is we're going to put this whole streaming context into the streaming.md file. So we're just going to paste it in here. And this is really important because we're going to reference it to Claude. Why it's better than just pasting it into the chat is because the instructions get convoluted if you send it along with the instructions. I'm just going to say my instructions right now. I'm looking to create an example of a Claude Agent SDK streaming messages file versus a non-streaming, just single message input example. And I'm going to attach the documentation from Claude's Agent SDK about streaming. So please read through that to understand how it works. I recommend you asking a similar question. It's very good if you follow along because it's really going to stick for you if you do it and you get involved and get your hands dirty with it. So I'm going to drag this in and I'm going to press enter. And so it's going to read through this file and do its work. This is streaming. So this actually shows a really good example that it did this reading. I can escape, I can stop it at any time and say, do this differently, and it won't lose all of this work that it already did earlier. So it's now creating these things now. It's going to create both examples. While that's loading, I will paste this link in the chat, but it's just called streaming input. I'm just going to accept all these. When you're building your applications, or if you have someone on your team building these applications, streaming is very important because it opens up a much more interactive way to work with agents. Rather than just one shot and waiting for a response, it allows you to have more conversational style interactions with the agent. So we do have streaming example, and we're just going to ask it, how do we run each one? So it says here we're going to need to add our Anthropic API key. So I'm just going to go here and create a new file called .env. And I'm going to copy this Anthropic API key here. If you go to Anthropic and you just paste your API key, then you'll be good. So now coming back here, we're all good to run it. And so I'm going to copy this first one. And I'm going to open up a new terminal. And I'm going to paste this. And we're going to see how streaming works. So we're just going to come in here and we're going to start a new chat and we're going to run our command. And so you can see the start streaming input, you can see event system, event assistant, and you can actually see all of the things that are going down and it's streaming everything. And this is basically what streaming is all about. If you go to our streaming example here, you can see that this is what it's doing. And it's finally given the project overview. Now, if we go to a new example and we use our non-streaming example, we'll see that there is no streaming. It's just you explain it, the AI is doing all the work in one shot before it actually comes back with the response, and then it's going to give us a response, but it's not streaming anything. And this makes it a very good user experience in terms of using these tools. As the tools evolve, it's going to be much more interactive where you're seeing everything that the AI is doing, and then you can actually audit it and see if it's the proper thing. So it did come back with the same response, but once again, no streaming. So I hope this helped. I hope you try it out yourselves and read through this brief documentation, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.